There is a kind of tiredness that comes not from doing too much, but from holding too much. The mind moves from one thing to the next, carrying each thought forward, stacking worry upon plan, upon memory, upon half-formed intention. Even in stillness, the interior keeps moving. You sit down to rest and find that rest will not come. The body may be quiet, but inside there is no quiet at all. This is the texture of a cluttered mind, not dramatic, not always painful, just full. Full of reasonable concerns and unreasonable ones, full of things you need to remember and things you wish you could forget, full of the day behind you and the day ahead. The mind becomes like a river choked with debris, branches and leaves and bits of things caught in the current, slowing the water, breaking its natural flow. The Buddha spoke often about this. He did not call it stress or anxiety, though it includes both. He called it dukkha, a word that points to the unsatisfying quality of experience when the mind is tangled. And he observed something simple, that this tangle grows denser the more we add to it. Each new thing we grasp, each new concern we pick up and carry, thickens the obstruction. Simplicity is not about having less for the sake of having less. It is about clearing the channel so the water can move again, so the mind can return to its natural clarity. You can feel this in the body right now. Notice the breath, not controlling it, just noticing. The air moves in, the air moves out. There is nothing you need to add to this, nothing you need to improve. The breath is already complete. And in attending to it, even for a moment, the mind has one thing to meet instead of 20. This is where the practice begins. Not in grand gestures or sweeping changes, but in the willingness to meet one thing fully, to let the rest wait. When the river is clear, you can see the stones at the bottom. You can see the way the light moves through the water. But when the surface is crowded, when the current is blocked, all you see is the obstruction itself. The mind works the same way. Clarity is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop adding to the noise. In early Buddhism, this understanding is woven through everything. The teachings return again and again to the same invitation: observe what is actually here, not what you think about what is here, not your commentary or judgment or the story you tell about it, just the thing itself, the breath, the sensation in the hands, the sound of a voice or the hum of the room around you. This kind of attention is simple, but it is not easy. The mind is used to complication. It is used to layering thought upon thought, building elaborate structures out of very little. A single worry becomes a chain of what-ifs. A passing discomfort becomes a narrative about what is wrong. The mind does this naturally, the way water flows downhill. It is not a mistake. It is just what an untrained mind does. Training does not mean forcing the mind to stop. It means learning to see when the adding is happening. When you notice a thought, and then notice the thought about the thought, and then the feeling about having that thought, you are watching the river fill with debris in real time. And in the seeing, something shifts. You do not have to clear it all away at once. You only have to stop adding more. Right now, the body is breathing, the heart is beating. There is contact between you and whatever you are sitting or lying on. These are not metaphors. These are direct experiences happening now without your effort. And they are simple. Breath is just breath. Contact is just contact. When you rest attention here, the mind meets something that does not ask for elaboration. This is not emptiness in the sense of void. It is spaciousness. The river, when it is clear, still flows, but it flows freely. The water meets the stones, moves around them, continues. There is room for what arises. There is room for what passes. Simplicity supports clarity because clarity needs room. It needs space to perceive without interference. And that space opens not by adding something new, but by releasing what is extra. by letting the mind return to what is direct, what is immediate, what is here. So we begin with the breath, because the breath is always here. We begin with the body, because the body is always now. And from this ground, this simple meeting, we learn to see what the mind does when it is left to itself, how it reaches, how it resists, how it builds and defends and distracts. And in seeing this, without judgment, the possibility of release begins to show itself. The mind feels heavy sometimes, not with sadness exactly, but with weight. There are thoughts from yesterday that never quite finished. There are plans for next week, layered on top of plans for tomorrow. There are small worries, half-formed intentions, things you said you would do, things you meant to remember. They pile up quietly, the way papers pile up on a desk when you're not paying attention. You might not notice it happening. Each thought seems small enough on its own. Each obligation feels manageable. But together they create a thickness in the mind that makes it hard to see clearly, hard to rest, hard to simply be present with what is actually here. The Buddha spoke about this in a way that feels very close to daily life. He said that just as a cluttered room leaves no space to rest, a cluttered mind leaves no space for clarity. It's not a moral failing. It's simply what happens when we keep adding without ever letting go. Think of a jar filled with water and sand. When you stir it, everything swirls together. The water becomes murky, opaque. You cannot see through it. You cannot see the bottom. If you wanted to use that water, you couldn't. It's too clouded. But if you simply stop stirring, something changes. The sand begins to settle. Slowly, without effort, the water clears. Your mind works in a similar way. When you keep adding thoughts, when you keep stirring up concerns and plans and memories, everything stays suspended. The mind cannot settle. Clarity cannot emerge. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because there is no space for anything to land. You might feel this as a kind of density, a sense that your attention is always divided. You're here, but you're also thinking about 3 other things. You're listening, but you're also planning what to say next. You're resting, but you're also reviewing what you didn't finish today. This isn't about having too much to do. You can have a full life and still have a clear mind. The density comes from holding on to things that no longer need to be held. Old conversations you keep replaying, decisions you keep second-guessing, objects you keep because you might need them someday. Commitments you said yes to out of habit or guilt. Each of these things takes up space. Not physical space, but the space of your attention. And attention is not unlimited. When it's divided among too many things, it becomes thin, scattered, unable to rest anywhere fully. You can feel this in your body sometimes, a tightness in the chest. A sense of being slightly braced even when there's nothing immediate to brace against. The breath becomes shallow. The shoulders creep up. The mind keeps scanning, keeps checking, keeps managing the invisible load. What would it be like to put something down? Not everything, just one thing. Something you've been carrying that doesn't actually need to be carried anymore. It might be a thought you keep returning to, even though thinking about it doesn't change anything. It might be an old hurt you're still holding, waiting for it to make sense. It might be a plan that felt important once, but no longer fits your life. It might be an object in your home that you keep out of obligation, not love. You don't have to search for the biggest thing or the most important thing. Just notice what comes to mind when you ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? Let the question be gentle. Let it be curious rather than demanding. You're not trying to fix yourself. You're simply looking at what's actually there. When you notice something, you might feel a small release, like setting down a bag you didn't realize you were carrying. The mind has a little more room. The breath can go a little deeper. The murky water begins to settle just slightly. This is not about becoming minimal or empty. It's about creating enough space for clarity to arise naturally. Clarity doesn't come from effort, it comes from stopping the stirring. from letting what's unnecessary fall away, from recognizing that you don't have to hold everything at once. Right now, you might be able to feel the weight of mental clutter in your own experience. The slight hum of too many things running in the background. The sense that your attention is stretched thin, pulled in directions you didn't consciously choose. You may have noticed how your mind feels heavier at the end of the day than it did in the morning. Not tired exactly, weighted, as though you have been carrying something you cannot quite name. This is not unusual. Throughout the day we pick things up. A comment someone made, a task left undone, a worry about tomorrow, a small irritation that never quite dissolved. We do not mean to hold them, we simply do. And because they are not physical objects, we do not feel the moment we first grasp them. But the weight accumulates. There is an old teaching, simple and direct. The burden is not in the object, but in the grasping. Not in what happened, but in how tightly we hold it. Not in the worry itself, but in the way we carry it forward, hour after hour, without setting it down. This is the nature of craving. Not only desire for pleasant things, but the mind's habit of reaching, holding, refusing to let go. We crave resolution. We crave certainty. We crave the feeling that we have handled something, even if handling it means replaying it again and again in thought. Imagine a traveler walking a long road. At the start of the journey, the bag is light. But along the way, the traveler picks up a smooth stone. It is small. It fits easily in the hand. They place it in the bag and continue walking. A little farther on, another stone. This one has an interesting shape. Into the bag it goes. Then another and another, each one small enough to justify, each one harmless on its own. The traveler does not notice the accumulation. They only notice after some time that each step has become harder. Their shoulders ache. Their breath is short. They wonder why the road has grown so difficult. They do not think to look inside the bag. This is what the mind does. It collects. A passing thought becomes a stone. A fleeting emotion becomes a stone. A plan, a regret, a half-formed judgment. All stones. And because thoughts are weightless in the moment, we do not feel ourselves reaching for them. We do not feel the hand closing around them. We only feel, eventually, the heaviness. The teaching does not ask you to stop thinking. It does not ask you to empty the bag all at once. It simply invites you to notice what you are holding. Because once you notice, you have a choice. Not every thought needs to be carried. Not every worry needs to travel with you into the next hour. Some things can be set down, not ignored, not denied, simply released from the grip. This is where simplicity begins, not in having fewer things, though that may follow, but in carrying less, in learning to feel the difference between awareness and grasping, between noticing a thought and holding it tightly. At the end of the day, you might try this. Sit quietly for a moment. Let your breath settle. Then ask yourself, what have I been carrying today? Name 3 concerns. Write them down. Not to solve them, not to plan around them, just to see them clearly, to acknowledge that you have been holding them. This is the concern about the meeting tomorrow. This is the concern about what they meant when they said that. This is the concern about whether I am doing enough. Write them down. Let them rest on the page. And then, for now, let them be. You do not need to resolve them tonight. You do not need to carry them into sleep. You can meet them again tomorrow if they return. But for now, they can rest outside of you. This is not a trick. This is not positive thinking. This is simply the practice of noticing the weight and choosing, gently, to set it down. The mind will reach again. It always does. Grasping is its habit. But each time you notice, each time you name what you are holding, the grip loosens slightly. The bag grows lighter. The road becomes walkable again. You may feel it now. The subtle heaviness you have been carrying without knowing, not because you are doing something wrong, but because this is what minds do. They accumulate, they hold, they forget to release. And now you are noticing. You sit down to think clearly and the mind becomes louder. You reach for focus and find clutter instead. Lists form, worries surface, plans tangle with memories. The more you try to clear the space, the more crowded it becomes. This is not failure. This is what minds do when we ask them to be different than they are. There is a teaching in Zen that the moon is always reflected in still water. Not in water we have stilled. Not in water we have commanded to be calm. In water that has settled on its own. The difference matters. Imagine a pond after rain. The surface is disturbed. Silt rises from the bottom. Leaves float and spin. Drops still fall from branches overhead. You cannot see through to the stones below. You cannot see the sky reflected clearly. Everything is motion and opacity. But you do not need to fix the pond. You do not need to skim the surface or filter the water or smooth the ripples with your hand. You only need to let it be. The silt will sink, the leaves will drift to the edges, the drops will stop, the surface will calm. This happens by itself, not because the pond is trying, because disturbance, when left alone, naturally subsides. The mind works this way too. When you sit quietly without trying to solve anything, the first thing you notice is how much is moving. Thoughts arrive in clusters, feelings pulse and shift, the body fidgets, the breath catches or rushes. There is no immediate stillness. There is only the seeing of what is already here. This is enough. You do not need to stop the thoughts. You do not need to empty the mind or achieve some perfect silence. You only need to sit and watch. Like standing at the edge of the pond, not interfering, not managing, just present. A thought comes. You notice it. It moves on or it does not. Another thought arrives. You see it too. A sensation in the shoulder, a sound from the street, the breath moving in and out, all of it passing through the same open space. And slowly, without effort, something begins to shift. Not because you made it shift, because you stopped adding to the disturbance. The silt begins to sink. You might sit for 5 minutes and feel only restlessness. That is fine. The restlessness is part of the settling. You might sit and notice the same thought circling 3 times, 4 times. That is fine too. The circling is visible now. It was always there. Now you see it. Clarity does not mean the mind goes blank. Clarity means you can see what the mind is doing. You can watch a worry form and recognize it as a worry. You can feel urgency rise and know it as urgency, not as truth. You can notice the difference between a thought and the space in which the thought appears. This is the still water, not empty, not silent, just clear. The moon is always there, even when clouds cover it, even when the water is too rough to hold the reflection. The moon does not disappear. It waits, and when the conditions settle, the reflection returns. Effortless, complete. Your own clarity is like this. It does not need to be created. It is already present, beneath the noise, beneath the planning and the fear and the endless inner conversation. It has always been there. You only need to stop stirring the water. Sit for 5 minutes, no goal, no agenda, just sit. Let the breath move as it moves. Let thoughts come and go. Do not try to meditate well. Do not try to be calm. Just be still in your body and watch what happens. The mind will not empty, but it may begin to settle. And in that settling you might notice a gap, a pause, a moment when nothing is being added and nothing needs to be solved. That is the reflection appearing. Not because you earned it, because you stopped disturbing the surface. You wake, and already the day is pulling in several directions. The phone lights up, the coffee brews, a thought about work surfaces, another about something you forgot yesterday. The mind moves quickly, touching each thing lightly, never settling anywhere long enough to feel the whole shape of it. This is the experience of scattered attention. Not wrong, not a failure. Just what happens when presence divides itself across many small demands. Each task receives a sliver of awareness. Each moment feels partial, incomplete. The early teachings offer something simple here. Do one thing with full attention, and the mind becomes whole. Not perfect, not special, just whole. When attention gathers around a single point, something shifts. The restlessness quiets. The sense of being pulled in many directions fades. What remains is clear and steady. Imagine a single candle lighting a room. The flame is small, but it reaches every corner. The space becomes visible. You can see where you are. Now imagine 10 candles scattered across a field at night. Each one flickers in the distance. The light spreads thin. You cannot see clearly where you stand or what lies near you. The brightness is divided, and so the darkness remains. This is what happens when attention scatters. The mind still works. Thoughts still come. But the sense of clarity, of being here fully, dissolves. You move through the day touching many things and arriving nowhere. The practice is not to do more. It is to do less, and to do it completely. Choose one routine task today. Something small, washing a dish, folding a piece of clothing, walking from one room to another. Let everything else wait. Bring your full attention to this one thing. If you are washing your dish, feel the temperature of the water. Notice the weight of the plate in your hands. Hear the sound of water running over ceramic. Watch the soap spread and dissolve. When the mind wanders toward what comes next, notice that. Let the thought pass. Return to the water, the dish, the movement of your hands. This is not about doing it perfectly. The mind will wander. It always does. The practice is in the returning. Each time you notice the attention has drifted, you bring it back, gently, without frustration. This returning is the practice itself. What you may notice is that the task changes. Not the task itself, but your experience of it. When attention gathers, even the simplest action becomes vivid. The dish is not just a dish, it is cool and smooth. The water is not just water, it is warm and moving. The moment is not empty, it is full. This is what the teaching points toward. Wholeness does not come from adding more. It comes from being fully present with what is already here. You do not need to change your life. You do not need to retreat or simplify everything at once. You only need to choose one small thing and meet it completely. The candle does not need to be large. It only needs to be undivided. When the mind is whole, even for a moment, clarity arises naturally. You see what you are doing. You feel where you are. The restlessness that comes from being nowhere fully begins to ease. Not because you have solved anything, but because you have stopped scattering yourself across the field. This is available in any moment. Washing, walking, breathing, listening. The task does not matter. The quality of attention does. Single-pointed, steady. Here, try it once today. One task. Full attention. Notice what happens when the mind gathers itself around a single flame. We hold on to things we no longer use. A shirt that hasn't fit in years. A habit that once served us but now feels hollow. A way of thinking that made sense at another time in another version of our life. And yet we keep them close, as if letting go would mean losing part of ourselves. There is a quiet fear beneath this holding. We worry that if we release what we've carried, we will become less. That we need these things to remain whole. That without them, something essential will be missing. But the Buddha offered a different view. What you can lose was never solid to begin with. This is not a command to throw everything away. It is an observation about the nature of things. What we cling to is already changing. The shirt fades, the habit shifts, the thought that once felt true now feels distant. We are not making these things impermanent by letting go. They were never permanent to begin with. Consider the autumn tree. The leaves do not fall because the tree decides to be rid of them. They fall because their time on the branch has come to completion. The connection weakens naturally. The leaf releases not through force, but through a quiet ending that was already underway. There is no violence in this, no dramatic severance, just the gentle arrival of a moment when holding on is no longer what is happening. You can sense this in your own life if you look closely. There are things you carry that no longer fit the shape of who you are now. A belief you inherited but never examined. A possession that sits untouched, gathering dust. A pattern of speech or thought that once felt like you, but now feels like an old costume. These things are not wrong. They were not mistakes. They served their purpose. But their season has passed, and the branch is ready to let them go. The difficulty is that we think release must be a decision, a moment of resolve, a cutting away. We imagine we must gather our strength and push these things out of our lives with effort and conviction. But what if release is not something we do, but something we allow? What if the letting go is already beginning, and we are simply holding on past the natural end? You might try this. Sit quietly and bring to mind one thing you have outgrown. Not something you are trying to outgrow. Not something you think you should release. But something that, when you touch it with your attention, already feels distant. A habit. A possession. A way of seeing yourself. Notice what it feels like to hold it now. Is there strain? Is there a sense of carrying something that no longer fits? Now notice what it would feel like to let it fall. Not to throw it, not to reject it, just to stop holding. There may be fear. That is natural. The mind worries that release means loss. But watch closely. What are you actually losing? The thing itself was already changing, already fading, already moving toward its own ending. You are not making it go. You are noticing that it is already going. This is the insight that simplicity offers. When we stop clinging to what is already leaving, we do not become less. We become more aligned with what is actually happening. The branch does not lose its nature when the leaf falls. It remains a branch. It continues. And in spring, new growth will come, not because the branch held on to the old leaves, but because it let them go. You do not need to empty your life. You do not need to force anything away, but you can begin to notice what is ready to fall, and you can practice the small, quiet act of not holding on past the natural end. This is not loss. This is completion. When you see this even once, the fear begins to soften. Release is not violence, it is not rejection. It is simply the allowing of what is already in motion. And in that allowing, there is a lightness, a clarity, a sense that you are not fighting the current, but moving with it. We reach for our phones in the elevator. We turn on the radio the moment we get in the car. We fill the background with podcasts while we cook, with music while we walk, with scrolling while we wait. The moment a gap appears, we plug it. We have come to believe that silence is a problem to be solved. But what if the gap is not empty? There is a teaching that comes from the Zen tradition, simple and direct. Silence is not empty, it is full of answers. Not the kind of answers that arrive in words or explanations, the kind that settle into the body when we stop asking. Think of a melody, not the notes themselves, but the space between them. A song played without pauses is just noise. The silence gives the notes their shape. It lets one phrase end so the next can begin. The pause is not a lack of music. It is what makes the music possible. We forget this. We treat the pauses in our day as voids to be feared. We mistake stillness for emptiness, quiet for loneliness. And so we fill every moment, every breath, every second of waiting with something, anything, to keep the silence away. But the silence is not against us. When we stop filling the space, something else becomes available, not something we have to search for or create, just what is already here, beneath the noise, the hum of the room, the sensation of breathing, the aliveness of the present moment, which does not need our commentary to exist. Simplicity is not about having less. It is about letting the space breathe. It is about noticing that clarity does not come from adding more thoughts, more plans, more input. It comes from stepping back and letting the mind settle, the way water clears when we stop stirring it. You do not have to believe this. You can test it. Take 3 conscious breaths, not deep, not controlled, just aware. Notice the inhale, notice the exhale. And then, at the end of the exhale, rest. Do not rush to the next breath. Let there be a pause, however brief. Let the body breathe itself when it is ready. In that pause, there is nothing to do, nothing to fix, nothing to figure out. Just the quiet space at the end of the breath, where the mind is not yet planning the next moment. This is the gap we have been avoiding. And it is full, not full of answers in the way we usually mean. Not solutions or insights we can write down and carry with us. Full in the way silence is full. Present, alive, enough. The mind will want to move. It will offer thoughts, plans, worries. This is what minds do. But you do not have to follow. You can notice the thought and return to the pause, the stillness at the end of the exhale, the space that does not need filling. 3 breaths, 3 pauses. This is not a technique to master, it is a reminder that the gap is not empty, that simplicity is not deprivation, that the mind becomes clear not by thinking harder, but by resting in the space where thinking has not yet begun. You might notice after a few breaths that the silence has a texture, a quality. It is not blank. It is not nothing. It is the ground beneath all the noise, always here, always available, waiting for us to stop and listen. The melody needs the pause. The mind needs the gap. Not as a strategy, not as a tool, but as the place where clarity lives. Rest there now, in the quiet space at the end of the breath. Let it be enough. You sit with your morning tea and the mind is already telling stories. This cup is chipped, you think, I should replace it. Or maybe, I've had this cup for years. It was a gift. The memory unfolds. The person who gave it to you. What they said. What you felt. And now the tea is cold. The cup itself was only there for a moment. Then the mind covered it with layers of thought. Names, judgments, history, plans. This happens so quickly you barely notice. The thing itself disappears beneath what you think about it. There is a teaching from the Mahayana tradition, simple and direct. See the flower as it is, not as the story you tell about it. Not the flower you remember from last spring. Not the flower that reminds you of your grandmother's garden. Not the flower that should be more beautiful or last longer. Just the flower as it appears. This is not about stopping thought. Thought will come. It always does. But you can begin to notice the difference between what is present and what the mind adds. The flower has color, shape, texture. The mind adds preference, memory, meaning. Both happen, but they are not the same thing. Think of a mirror. It reflects whatever appears before it. A face, a tree, a passing cloud. The mirror does not say, this face is aging, or I prefer the tree, or the cloud should be elsewhere. It simply shows what is there. When the thing moves away, the mirror is clear again. No trace remains. Your awareness can be like this. It can receive what appears without adding commentary. The sound of rain, the weight of your body in the chair, the coolness of air on your skin. These things are already complete. They do not need your interpretation to exist. But the mind is used to interpreting. It has been doing this for so long that interpretation feels like seeing. You look at a tree and immediately the word tree appears. You see a person and the mind says stranger or friend. You feel a sensation in your chest, and the mind says anxiety or excitement. The label comes so fast, it seems inseparable from the experience itself. It is not. There is a gap, however small, between the thing and the thought about the thing. In that gap is simplicity. In that gap is rest. You can practice this with something near you right now. Choose something ordinary, a pen, a stone, your own hand. Look at it without naming it. This is harder than it sounds. The name will come. Let it come and return to looking. Notice the shape, the way light falls on it, the edges, the colors, the small details you have never seen before. When the mind says, I know what this is, just notice that thought. It is another layer. Beneath it, the thing remains. When the mind says, this is boring, notice that too. The judgment is not the thing. The thing is still there, exactly as it is. You are not trying to empty your mind. You are learning to see what is already present before the mind dresses it in language. The breath moves in and out. You do not need to call it breath to feel it. The floor supports your feet. You do not need to call it floor to know its solidity. This is the practice of non-self in a quiet form. The self is the one who names, who judges, who remembers and plans. When you rest in direct perception, even for a moment, that self becomes transparent. There is seeing, but no one insisting on what it means. There is hearing, but no story about what should be heard instead. The world becomes simpler. Not because it has changed, but because you have stopped adding to it. The cup is just a cup. The sound of a car passing is just sound. Your hand resting on your knee is just weight, warmth, contact. In this simplicity, the mind begins to settle. It has been working so hard, layering thought upon thought, building and maintaining a constant interpretation of everything. When you let something be exactly what it is, the mind can rest. Just for a breath, just for this moment. Look again at the thing you chose. See it without the name, without the story. Let it be complete, just as it is. You wake up wanting coffee. Then you check your phone and want to reply. Then you want the day to move faster. Then you want someone to notice your effort. Then you want a moment of quiet. Then you want the quiet to end. One wanting after another, each one small, each one pulling. By midday, the mind feels scattered, not because anything terrible has happened, just because you have been following so many threads at once. The Buddha said, desire is a hook. The more we pull, the deeper it sets. This is not about blame, it is about seeing how wanting works. Each time we reach for something, a small tension forms. The mind leans forward. The body tightens just slightly. And if we do not get what we want, the tension stays. If we do get it, a new wanting often appears in its place. It is like flying a kite that has tangled itself in many strings. One string pulls left, another pulls right, a third drags downward. The kite cannot rise. It jerks and strains, caught in the lines it once used to soar. You may not notice the first string, or the second, but by the 10th, the 20th, the mind feels heavy. You feel busy even when you are sitting still. This is not about having no preferences. You can prefer tea over coffee. You can hope for a kind word. The difference is in the grip. When preference becomes insistence, the hook sets. When hope becomes demand, the string tightens. Sit quietly for a moment and notice. What do you want right now? Maybe you want this to be over. Maybe you want to feel calm already. Maybe you want to understand faster. Just notice the shape of it. Do not push it away. Do not feed it. Just feel where it lives in the body. Often, wanting shows up as a tightness in the chest, or a restlessness in the hands, or a subtle leaning forward as if the next moment will finally bring relief. The body knows before the mind names it. When you see one craving clearly, you see how it pulls. You see the small contraction it creates. And in that seeing, something loosens, not because you fought it, just because you stopped pretending it was not there. This is the practice. Choose one wanting today, not the biggest one, just one that appears. Maybe the urge to check your phone, maybe the wish for someone to text you back, maybe the hope that traffic will clear. Stay with it for a few breaths. Feel it as a sensation, not as a story. Notice where it sits. Notice if it changes. You do not have to act on it. You do not have to make it go away. Just let it be seen. The kite does not need every string cut at once. One is enough to feel the difference. One line released and the kite shifts. The sky opens just a little. When you stop chasing one thread, the mind has room to rest. Not forever, just for now. And now is where clarity lives. Feel the weight of wanting. Feel how it occupies space in the chest, the throat, the belly. This is not wrong. It is just heavy. And when you see the weight clearly, you also see that you have been carrying it. We often believe that clarity comes from somewhere else, from a special practice, a perfect morning, a moment of breakthrough. We wait for the mind to settle into something we imagine as pure or still. And in that waiting, we overlook what is already here. There is an old Zen saying, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." It points to something we easily miss. The tasks themselves do not change. What changes is the quality of attention we bring to them. We spend much of our lives moving through ordinary actions without really arriving. Washing a dish while thinking about the next task. Walking to the door while replaying a conversation. Folding laundry while planning tomorrow. The body does one thing, the mind does another, and in that split, clarity slips away. Simplicity is not about doing less, it is about being more fully present to what is already being done. When we bring our full attention to a single, unremarkable action, something shifts. The mind stops searching, it stops waiting for the next thing. It rests in what is. Think of waves moving across sand. Each wave arrives, spreads, and withdraws. No wave is special. No wave announces itself. Each one is complete in its own rhythm. The ocean does not withhold its attention from one wave because it is waiting for a better one. Each wave receives the full force of the water behind it. Our actions can be like this: sweeping a floor, pouring water into a glass, tying a shoe. These are not obstacles to clarity. They are opportunities for it. When we meet them with care, they become doorways. The mind resists this at first. It wants something more, something that feels significant. But significance is not what brings clarity. Presence is. And presence does not require anything extraordinary. It only requires that we stop dividing our attention. You can try this today. Choose one ordinary task, not something you consider meaningful, something simple, something you do often without thinking. Washing your hands, opening a door, putting on a coat. Do it slowly, not in a way that draws attention to itself. Just slow enough that you can feel each part of the action. Notice the temperature of the water, the texture of the fabric, the weight of the door handle. Let your attention rest fully on what your hands are doing. You may notice the mind pulling away. It will offer thoughts about other things. It will suggest that this is not important enough. Let those thoughts be there. You do not need to fight them. Just return your attention to the task, again and again, without judgment. This is not about achieving a special state. It is about noticing what happens when attention and action meet. When there is no gap between what you are doing and where your mind is, something settles. The mind stops looking elsewhere. It stops waiting. It arrives. Clarity is not found by adding more. It is found by removing the layer of distraction we place over simple things. When we wash a dish, as if washing a dish matters, the dish becomes clear. The water becomes clear. The hands become clear. And in that clarity, the mind finds a kind of rest it cannot manufacture through effort. This is the practice. Not once, but again and again. Each time you return to a simple action with full attention, you are training the mind to stop seeking clarity somewhere else. You are teaching it that clarity is here. In the rhythm of breath, in the feeling of cloth against skin, in the sound of water running. The waves do not tire of their work. They do not wonder if they are doing it right. They simply arrive, complete in themselves, and return to the ocean. Each wave the same. Each wave enough. You stand in front of the refrigerator longer than you need to. Not because you're hungry in a particular way, but because there are 7 things you could eat, and your mind wants to choose the right one. You open your phone to pick something to watch, and 30 minutes later you're still scrolling. The day hasn't even asked much of you yet, but already you feel a low hum of fatigue. This is what happens when every moment requires a decision. We think of freedom as having many doors to walk through, and it's true that some choices matter deeply. But most of the time, we're just standing in a hallway, looking at doors that all lead to roughly the same place, while our attention frays at the edges. There's a teaching that runs quietly through the early tradition. Contentment is not having what you want, but wanting less. It doesn't mean deprivation. It means releasing the belief that satisfaction lives in the next choice, the next option, the thing you haven't tried yet. When you want less, the mind has room to rest. Think of a garden that's been left to grow wild. Everything competes. Roots tangle, leaves block the light. Each plant is alive, but none of them are thriving. Then someone comes with shears and begins to prune. Not everything is removed, just enough so that what remains has space. Light reaches the soil. Air moves between the stems. The garden doesn't lose its life. It gains clarity. Your day can be like this. You don't need to empty your life of choices, but you can notice where the choosing itself has become the burden, where you're spending energy not on living, but on deciding how to live. Here's a small practice. Choose one decision you make every day and remove it by deciding in advance. It could be what you eat for breakfast. It could be what time you go to bed. It could be which route you take to work, or whether you check your phone before you get out of bed. Pick something small, not something that requires willpower or discipline, just something you can set down. Decide it once, and then let it be decided. What you'll notice first might be resistance. The mind will say, "This is boring, this is rigid, this is not freedom." Let that thought be there. It doesn't need to be argued with. Just watch what happens when you follow through anyway. You might feel a small drop in the background noise of your mind, a tiny clearing. It's not dramatic. It's just that one part of your day is no longer asking anything of you. This is where compassion comes in. Not compassion for others, though that matters. Compassion for the part of you that's been working so hard to optimize, to choose correctly, to keep all the options open. That part is tired. It's been carrying something it doesn't need to carry. When you remove one choice, you're not restricting yourself. You're offering yourself rest. The garden metaphor holds here. You're not killing the plants. You're giving them light. You're letting the essential things breathe. As you move through your day, with one less decision to make, pay attention to the quality of your attention. Notice if there's a little more room to see what's actually in front of you. Notice if your mind feels even slightly less cluttered. This isn't about perfection. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll change your mind. That's fine. The practice is just to see what simplicity feels like. To let your nervous system register the difference between constant choosing and quiet consistency. You might find that the relief is subtle but real, that the mind, when it has one less thing to manage, softens just a little. That freedom isn't found in having more options, but in needing fewer of them. There is a kind of fear that comes after letting go. You have released what felt important, the extra tasks, the old stories, the roles you thought defined you, and now, in the quiet, you wonder if anything remains at all. This fear is not unusual. We build so much. We add layers of meaning, identity, and purpose. We ornament our lives with achievements and affiliations, with plans and preferences, and somewhere beneath all of it, we forget what holds steady when everything else falls away. There is a teaching that speaks to this. Strip away the ornaments and the altar is still sacred. The value was never in the decoration. The ground was always there. Think of a tree in winter. The leaves are gone. The branches are bare. From a distance, it might look diminished, even lifeless. But if you come closer, you see something else. The structure is clear now. The trunk stands firm. The branches reach out in their true shape, unobscured. The tree is not less in winter. It is revealed. This is what simplicity does. It does not erase what matters. It shows you what was always essential. When you release what is extra, you may feel exposed, vulnerable. You may wonder if you have lost something irreplaceable. But what you are feeling is not emptiness. It is spaciousness. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. Emptiness suggests absence, a void where something should be. Spaciousness is openness, room to see clearly, room to breathe. The essential has not disappeared. It has simply become visible. So the question is not whether anything remains. The question is, what remains? Beneath the shifting surface of your days, there is something that does not change with circumstance. A core value. A quality of being that persists whether you are praised or ignored, whether you succeed or stumble, whether the world approves or turns away. It might be kindness. It might be honesty. It might be curiosity or steadiness or care. Whatever it is, it does not depend on external conditions. It is not something you perform. It is something you return to. This is your stable ground. You can find it by paying attention. Not by thinking harder or searching further, but by noticing what remains constant when everything else shifts. Sit quietly for a moment. Let your breath settle. Notice the body, the weight of it, the simple fact of being here. And then ask, without forcing an answer, what quality shows up again and again, regardless of circumstance. You do not need to name it immediately. You do not need to make it grand. Just notice, when you felt most yourself, what was present? When the noise fell away, what remained? This is not about finding a perfect answer. It is about recognizing what is already there. The tree in winter does not question its worth. It does not compare itself to spring. It stands in its own structure, bare and alive, and that is enough. You are the same. When the ornaments fall away, you do not become less. You become clear. Equanimity is not indifference. It is not flatness or resignation. It is the quiet recognition that your value does not rise and fall with conditions. The ground beneath you is steady. The core remains. And when you know this, even faintly, the fear of simplicity begins to ease. You see that releasing the extra does not leave you with nothing. It leaves you with what was always essential. The altar is still sacred. The mind reaches. Even when the day is over, even when the body is still, the mind reaches. It reaches for what's next, what's missing, what could have been better. It scans the day like a list that never quite adds up. There's a restlessness in this reaching, a sense that something more is needed before rest can come. You might notice this in the moments before sleep. The mind reviews, it replays, it plans, it doesn't land anywhere. It moves from thought to thought, searching for the thing that will finally feel like enough. But the search itself keeps the mind in motion. The reaching prevents the resting. The Buddha spoke simply about this. He said, "This breath, this moment, already complete. Not complete because it's perfect. Not complete because nothing else will come. Complete because it is whole in itself. This moment doesn't need the next one to be what it is. Imagine a cup filled to the brim. The water reaches the edge, it doesn't overflow, and it doesn't fall short. The cup is full. It doesn't need more water to be a full cup, it's already what it is. Adding more would only spill. Taking away would only empty it. But right now, at this moment, it is complete. This is what simplicity offers, not less for the sake of less, not emptiness for the sake of emptiness, but a recognition that what is here is already whole. The breath you're taking now doesn't need another breath to be a breath. The weight of your body against the surface beneath you doesn't need adjustment to be felt. The sounds in the room, near or far, don't need to be different to be heard. The mind reaches because it has learned to reach. It has been taught that more is better, that next is necessary, that enough is always just beyond. But this is a habit, not a truth. And habits can be seen. When they're seen clearly, they loosen. You can begin to see this reaching by noticing what is already here, not as a task, not as something to achieve, just as a gentle return. The breath is here, the body is here, the moment is here. These are not preparation for something else. They are not the waiting room before the real thing begins. They are the real thing. Simplicity supports clarity because it removes the layers of reaching. When the mind is not searching for what's next, it can rest in what is. When it's not comparing this moment to another, it can perceive this moment directly. The mind becomes still not because it has been forced, but because it has found something worth staying with. This doesn't mean the mind will never move again. Thoughts will come, plans will form, memories will arise, but there can be a difference between movement and restlessness. Movement flows, restlessness grasps. Movement allows, restlessness demands. Before sleep tonight, you might try something small. Name 3 things that were enough today exactly as they were. Not the best things, not the most important things, just 3 things that were complete in themselves. A breath. A sip of water. The feeling of your feet on the ground. The sound of a voice. The warmth of the sun through a window. The coolness of the air. These moments don't need to be elevated. They don't need to be made into something more than they were. They were simply enough. They were full cups. They were complete breaths. When you name them, let them be as they were. Don't add meaning. Don't make them into lessons. Just let them rest in your awareness as moments that needed nothing more to be what they were. This practice is not about gratitude in the way we often think of it. It's not about feeling thankful or generating a positive emotion. It's simpler than that. It's about seeing clearly. It's about recognizing sufficiency when it's already present. The mind will still reach sometimes. That's natural. But in the moments when you notice the reaching, you can return. You can come back to the breath that is already here, the body that is already resting, the moment that is already complete. The cup is already full. It has always been full. The reaching doesn't make it more full. The resting doesn't make it less. It simply is what it is, and that is enough. The mind that returns to simplicity does not arrive at a destination. It finds itself here, in this breath, in this moment of seeing clearly. And then the moment passes, and another arrives. This is not a problem to solve. This is the nature of experience itself. When we notice complexity building again, when thoughts layer and multiply, when the day feels crowded once more, we can recognize this too. Not with disappointment, not with the belief that we have failed. Just with the same quiet attention we bring to anything that arises. The mind moves toward complication naturally. It reaches, it plans, it protects, and we can notice this reaching. We can feel the texture of it. And in that noticing, something softens. Simplicity is not a state we achieve and keep. It is a direction we turn toward again and again, like returning to the breath. We do not breathe once and finish. We breathe, and then we breathe again. The path is made of these small returns, each one complete in itself, each one enough. There is a tenderness in this, in knowing that nothing we build will last forever, not our clarity, not our calm, not even our understanding. Everything we experience is moving, changing, dissolving into the next moment. And this impermanence, when we meet it without resistance, becomes gentle. It asks nothing of us except that we pay attention, that we stay present while things arise and pass. The simplicity we have been exploring is not about perfection. It is not about having fewer thoughts or feeling peaceful all the time. It is about seeing clearly what is here. A simple room can hold a restless mind. A quiet schedule can still carry worry. But when we meet that restlessness, that worry, with the same spacious attention we bring to everything else, we are practicing simplicity. We are not adding another layer. We are just here with what is. And this practice continues. It does not end when this listening ends. It moves with you into the next hour, the next choice, the next moment of noticing. You might forget. You will forget. And then you will remember again. This is how it works, not in a straight line, but in cycles of forgetting and returning. Each return is fresh. Each moment of clarity stands on its own. The Buddha spoke of the path as something walked step by step, not leaped across, not conquered, just walked. One foot, then the other, one breath, then the next, one choice toward simplicity, and then another choice, later, when you remember. This is enough. This has always been enough. So we end here, but not really ending, just pausing. The silence that follows these words is not empty. It is full of your own presence, your own breathing, your own life continuing. You might sit for a moment and feel that. Or you might move into sleep, letting these ideas settle without effort. Or you might let the next exploration begin, if that feels right. There is no rush. There is nowhere you need to be except where you are. What remains is simply this, the possibility of seeing clearly, the possibility of meeting your life with less between you and it, less commentary, less complication, less weight, just the direct experience of being here. And the quiet confidence that this is the practice, not something you do once, but something you return to, again and again, with patience, with kindness toward yourself, with the understanding that every moment offers another chance to begin. Thank you for this time, for your attention, for your willingness to listen, for your presence here. The path continues. It always continues. And you are walking it, whether you feel it clearly right now or not. Rest in that. Let it be simple. Let it be enough.